There's a number of ways to do decals or layered texture projections in Houdini and the new Copernicus. This one's been around for a long time. It's just creating a UV. Here I'm calling it UV2 based on the camera frustum. So you can see here that as I move, well, let's pick the camera and lock it, sorry. As I move the camera around, it's changing the projection, and you can see here if I switch this view to UV2, you can see the UVs that are being created for that geometry. And then, usually you'll set this up and use this in a material and texture it using this UV. Here I'm using it in COPS, so we'll go into COPS. And what I'm doing is I'm bringing in that UV2, and I'm using that to texture sample this image, and then I'm just overcompositing it, the original rubber toy texture. And then let's look at another one here. We'll just close that. This is really useful, obviously, for compositing, like with scenes and stuff like that, based on camera view. And then there's Texture Decal, which is a labs tool, and it's great in terms of creating separate geometry from the geometry that you're projecting onto. And also a big advantage is that you can see how high resolution this butterfly texture is, and you can see how low resolution this pig is. If I was to project this texture into the pig texture, it would seriously degrade the butterfly. So there's a real advantage here in terms of keeping this separately. And also sometimes you want separate geometry, offset from the surface or labels or whatever, or something like that. And there is a way of extrapolating this and bring that into COPS so that you can sort of real-time bake this image into the other texture from the decal projector, but I'll cover that in a future video. So along the same lines here of sort of doing this decal idea here, it's a bit messy now, but you can see the butterfly is much higher res than the pig texture, and the way that I'm not really projecting it, it's separate geometry here, just like the labs decal, but I'm doing it with height fields. So we go into COPS. Basically what I'm doing here is getting the geometry and then rasterizing it, getting the depth, making a height field into that. You do height field visualize and then put the texture into that height field, and then that lets us have a separate piece of geometry that is here, that can then live in the same space as the original geometry, and here they are together. And again, the advantage here is that you get a nice high-res texture. Obviously I can move it closer so it appears to actually part of the original texture. But the main one that I wanted to show today is this, which is basically using a new node in Houdini 21, which is fantastic, which is the space transform node. And the space transform node, let's just jump inside, texture, image, other geometry, you can project, transform space, buffer. It's really quite impressive. This tool is very elegantly written, and it addresses an issue that I was having last year with Houdini 20.5 when I didn't release this decal projection tool last year. There was sort of a frustum offset that's now been addressed, so it's no longer an issue. So basically the way this works is you have an image, let's use obviously this one here, and then down here this is just a mask, just in case you wanted to. I'll just show this as an aside, like, mask your image before you're projecting it. It's not that relevant. But basically what decal is projecting is obviously a texture to project, and then it wants world position. And the reason why it wants world position, I'll tell you in a sec here. So basically I've got this HDA. You can use raster geometry by UVs and then get org P, which will give you world position. Here I am getting world position inside of it, just using some OpenCL here that I've covered in a bunch of other tutorials. And basically it's using barycentric space, finding out where things are in a triangle to get world position. So if we pipe this world position into our base color here, and you can see here that we're getting the world position of the pig for a map of that. And, oops, sorry, hold on. And so we feed that world position into our decal project, and then also we need to get where we're projecting from. That's what camera ref is. So in this case, if we look at our switch node here, 0, we're projecting with a layer. So if we look at the layer here, let's just template that on. There's our layer. And they've added this nice new 3D transform mode inside of Houdini 21s here, so I can move our decal around, and it is slightly projecting to the other side. So decal project also has a way to change your Z depth mask, I guess maybe you call it. And so the way that works inside of here is you've obviously got with your world transform is that our world transform is relative, is being set with the space transform relative to the point of view. So obviously Z is along our point of view, and if we create a map of that, a Z mask, let's say, then we can mask out along that projection. And so that lets us have the projection not go all the way through, which is obviously really handy. The other thing you can do with this great new ray trace node they've added in Houdini 21 is output thickness. So let's have a look at that. So you can see here that it's not as thick on the ear. So I would probably remap or multiply this. We just don't have time to do that right now, but that's normally what I would do to get a better map out of this. So if we take this again and put this back in there, you can take any map you want, is use that as a Z multiplier. And so let's say I took this layer here and we move it over the ear. You can see here that it's fading out quite a bit, and I'll just make it smaller here. And I don't want it showing up on the other side, so I can make some adjustments here to try to get it to not project all the way through. Now the issue is that it's starting to fade on this side, so that's not very effective. So what I would do is work on, it's still showing a little bit through on this side. What I would do is I put a remap here of this map after thickness and make some adjustments to that so that I could get the ear values working so this would show up on this side and not on that side. All right, so let's move our image back over here. There we go. And the neat thing is, the other neat thing you'll notice is that layers are kind of like cameras. You can add camera properties to them. I could make this a perspective mode, and then I can go here and change the focal length, which is quite handy, and change views. So let's just put this back to orthographic and turn that off just in case. And so that's the projection there. The other thing you can obviously do is we have a camera at the object level, and so we'll switch to that, and then we'll look down the camera. So now you can see here, if I lock to this camera, and let's actually drag this over so we have a second view here, and so you can see the actual result. So as we move the camera around, you can see that it's changing the projection. The other thing we can do is use a camera from the stage. So if we go back up to the stage here, you can see that we've got camera 1 and a spotlight. And so we'll go back here, and then we will switch to our stage. The problem is that when you click on this camera and you say tie view to camera light and you go to move it, nothing happens, which kind of sucks. So I guess I get why they don't want you moving stage cameras around, but I still think they should. Maybe there's an option to do it somewhere. I haven't found it. They should allow that. What would be better, though, is that if I had cameras that would travel with this asset, not cameras at the object level and not cameras at the stage level that could get lost, but actually have a camera here in my object network. So I named one here test, but hey, look, it's not available. So I can select it here and use it, but I can't interact with it. That makes it pretty useless to me. So I have an RFE out for that. Please add to that, because I think this would be very useful if this is going to be at all like Houdini texturing Alice substance kind of thing, where we can do texture projections and have these cameras traveling with it. Something else you can do, which is kind of cool, is import a lop light. So this is lop import cam, but I'm pointing at a lop light. Doesn't know the difference. And then I just importing that from this object, and then I'm actually giving this a camera property and expression linking the aperture from this up to the spotlight. So if we pick this, I think light is one. Is that the light? It's right here. Let's look through light. Yeah, there we go. So we're looking through the light. There's our texture. And so if we go up to the stage here, and we'll look through the light. There we go. Look through the light, and I go to spotlight here. I can change that texture from the spotlight. Of course, you can gobo from lights and stuff like this, but there's also some real advantages to actually having it on your material as well, on your texture. You can do some pretty interesting mixing gobo with actual material application. So let's go back inside of Cops, and I'm trying to think if there's another input we'd want to work with. No, that's okay. Let's just switch it back to layer. And that's another important thing. It would be great if we could, like, say, look through layer, and you can't do that. So this kind of sucks. I'm able to move layer around, and it's really, really flexible and wonderful, but I can't look through it to set it. Even though I can give it camera properties, I can't look through layers. So please also ask side effects for that. Another thing you can do here is, while you're in here, is I've got two preview nodes here. So I've got the rubber toy, and I've got the pig, and we'll just move the layer here. We'll move it out a bit, and I'm going to just set the distance here, decal projection. I'll just move it over because obviously it's oops, sorry, it's not projecting far enough through the pig. So there you go. So I can also project across two objects here. And that might seem like that wouldn't work, but let me see here. Let's just transform this to show you. So yeah, I'm projecting across both of these, and I could save out these materials or use them separately up at the stage level. And let's see if we can actually do this. It might be unstable. Hopefully it's not. We got an all out previewed. Yep. And sometimes what you can do is, let's change this to multiple outputs, and then Cops right now, it's not showing up, so let's just clear this, hit autofill materials, and woof, that's ugly. But let's see what this looks like in Karma. Lower our sample, yeah, good. Lower the samples so it's faster, and see if this will actually work. And right now it's not working because we have a spotlight on, so let's turn on spotlight. And there you go. So it actually works here in terms of materials. And let's dive back inside. And I think that's about it. So decal project, I'll save it as an HDA for you, or you can just rip the guts out of this and use it yourself. There's nothing custom in here in terms of OCL. so you could just tear it out and use it yourself. And there's a bunch of other things to cover, but I think that's good enough for now.